Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and today we are talking about the AEW Women's World Tag Team titles. They are going in a championship bracket, and I wanted to predict who's going to win, and also just talk about it in general because it's a brand new title, and I don't know. I love when titles come into existence because it's like you start a lineage, and if you watch it and hang out and see stuff, you get to see the whole thing as it goes along. So we'll talk about each bracket and then we'll pretty much go from there. So right off the bat, we have Queen Aminala and Jamie Hayter. I think they said that they were coming up with a name. I saw different things, so I don't want to say anything yet. Against Sky Blue and Julia Hart, the Sisters of Sin, which is part of the Triangle of Madness with Thekla. I do think it's interesting that they're using these two as the tag team. I honestly think it's not a bad idea, not at all. They're both very young and very talented, and I think there's a lot that could happen with that. So we'll go to. I think we'll just go over the bracket first, and then we'll go over side by side. Then we had Willow and Harley Cameron. Honestly, it feels like kind of a random pairing. I know they've like paired up over the last couple weeks, but like not to a point that I would say like this is a tag team. I feel like you could have also done Harley Cameron and Mercedes Monet, which would have been better for the tag team thing because then she could have been beatable if because Harley could have took the pin. But I think this seems an interesting choice. I don't really necessarily know where to put them on the scale of like how they're gonna do because there's so many other tag teams that are actual tag teams and like actually have somewhat of a story together, even if they're not been a tag team the entire time. Then we have Mercedes Money and Athena. This tag team is the most stacked. Obviously, what 12 belts Mercedes and one giant long belt for Athena is kind of hard to see how stacked this team is. Not necessarily a completely random team. They've teased each other and had war against each other. So I don't think it's completely out of the blue, but it definitely does feel like a stacked deck. Then we have Windsor and Riho, just kind of is out of the blue on this one. This one probably is the most random pairing. Unless I'm missing something completely from something else, I don't think there's anything that makes this a tag team to a certain extent. I think they're going to be fun to watch, but I don't think it's a tag team. Then we got Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Obviously, both of them towards the top of the card. This is a good pairing because at least they know each other. They've worked well together, and they actually now can tag together. I think it's going to be good. I think in general, these belts will be hopefully if booked correctly really good for AEW. They struggle to get more than 3 women matches on a PLE card. It's very, very rare. And now that the titles are going to be there, they would have an opportunity to probably at least have them defended. Because normally they always relegate the third match to the pre show. So hopefully, them actually having titles and having maybe story and all that type of stuff, we'll actually see these on PLEs. They're so damn long that it's surprising we don't have more than 2 matches. Then we had Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. I forget, they're like something of gods or whatever. This is honestly like low key a great pairing. They've been working together for it feels like almost the longest, other than some of the other ones here. But they feel like a legitimate tag team. But we'll see how that goes here. And then we have TJ. Honestly, they literally are like the legitimate tag team here, so they should have the best opportunity to win. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. So let's go to the first bracket. It is Queen Aminala and Jamie Hayter versus the Sisters of Sin. Honestly, I do feel like the Sisters of Sin should win here because they are, like I said, a legitimate tag team also, or like a legitimate faction. I just don't see it happening with Queen Aminala coming with Jamie Hayter. Like they just have both had big wins. I think Jamie Hayter just beat Thekla to defeat her undefeated streak. Why waste it by them getting put out in the first round? So I think they make it to round 2. So then at the bottom of the bracket, that'd be Willow and Harley versus Mercedes Monet and Athena. I mean, we got to be honest here. I don't see. I can barely see Mercedes and Athena losing, but they're definitely not losing in the first round. I feel like if anything, it's going to be Athena turning on her and setting up a feud for a later thing for a different storyline. But unless that happens, there's no way that they lose in that first round. So Mercedes and Athena, I think, make it to the second round. Then on the other side of the bracket, we have Windsor and Riho versus Tony and Mina. I think this should be easily Tony and Mina. I feel like with Toni Storm not being around the title picture anymore, there's got to be something else that she does because she's their one of their top talents. So if they don't have her in there, then what's the point, you know? And Mina Shirakawa has been their big free agent signing that I think they've struggled to figure out what they're doing with. So I think this would be a very good atmosphere to put her in. So I think Tony and Mina advance. Now it becomes the hardest bracket down here because like both of these are the legitimate tag teams. Honestly, me personally, I'm completely biased because Megan Bayne is one of my favorite wrestlers. I would say Megan Bayne's team makes it. So I'm gonna go with that. Anna Jay is also really good with TJ, but I just feel like they should give it to Megan Bayne, being that she's a big time free agent signing. It feels like she should be in there. So I'm gonna go Bayne and Ford. And then we flipped to the other side. We had Hayter and Queen Aminala advancing against Mercedes and Athena. I believe if Athena does turn on Mercedes, it's going to be in the finals. It's not going to be in the quarterfinals. So I say Mercedes and Athena make it to the finals, and then Tony and Mina versus the bottom bracket, which would be probably Bane and Ford. I still think Tony and Mina win. So I do think it's going to be Mina and Tony versus Mercedes and Athena for the titles. I honestly can say it's going to be a 50-50. I personally think they should give it to Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Obviously, they just took the belt off of Mina with her interim title or whatever, but like, so she's fresh of not doing anything. And I think like Tony Storm is their big player, but Mercedes just wins a lot of belts. And I think at some point, Mercedes is going to have to cash in by losing all of those belts. And now that she's beaten the record, I don't think this is the time to put her on over. So I think it's going to be Tony and Mina. I think if Athena turns on Mercedes here, and yeah, just because she rather take out Athena or take out Mercedes. And I think that would be the best call there because it sets up a huge feud afterwards, gives two of your bigger players titles to do stuff with, and I think they should defend it like all the time. And I think those with the two would be one of the best because the problem with giving it to Mercedes and Athena, they have titles to defend themselves, and it really puts them into nothing. And I know maybe it would be a good idea for them to be like the first ever winners, but unless you're going to have them lose those titles really fast, I just can't see it. But again, this is AEW, so none of what I just said feels like it could not happen. So tell me who you guys think is going to win, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.